Yeah, it's mindset cafe, we all got that mindset. Gotta stay focused, never settle for less. It's all in your head, how you think you manifest. So get ready to rise, cause we about to be the best. Gotta switch it up, gotta break the old habits. Get your mind right, turn your dreams into habits. No negative vibes, only
What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Mindset Cafe podcast. It's your boy, Devin, and today we got a guest for you guys. We have Austin Spitzenberger today. He and I have met through the RBO inner circle, the mastermind, and he is an awesome entrepreneur. He is a vacation rentals owner. He has a whole business around it. He's also the host of the Co-Host Bros podcast. He has another podcast in the works. I don't want to give away the name yet because they're still in the works on it. So if you're listening to this, a year after the episode, we want to make sure that you go to the right podcast to listen to him there. But on his current podcast, they talk about, local business stuff, wealth building, real estate, how to, get vacation rentals and all that kind of stuff. Austin, thank you so much for taking the time out to, hop on the Mindset Cafe, man.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here. I love the intro, by the way. The person that's singing, your voice is a little deeper, so I don't really think that those were your pipes back there. But love the intro, man. That was awesome.
No, I appreciate it. So let's dive right in. How did you get started in vacation rentals, let alone entrepreneurship?
Sure. So I actually started my first business right out of college. We owned a transportation party bus kind of company. Did it for like 2 years and realized it's not something that I wanted to do long term. And we ended up selling that business. So that was my first business venture. After that, I kind of took a few years off, continued to work my W-2 job to find out what I was going to do next. I think I've always been wired to where I kind of had that entrepreneurial mindset throughout my whole life. I was always doing something. So I know I needed to do something. I just didn't know what the skill set was that I had to provide to the world and what I could really do to like somebody that could pay me for my value. And because through my college, I did sales and stuff like that after that. So I was like, okay, what is my skill set? So what I did, I think about 4 years ago, I wanted to get into real estate, and I decided that I was going to do Airbnb, VRBO, vacation rentals. So I bought a vacation home myself, and what I did was I just got really good and learned everything that I could possibly learn about the industry to be the best operator that I possibly could be in the space. But what I had to do is I had to do it myself first before I could start saying, hey, I want to manage other people's properties. So after that, I got really good at it, did it for about a year. My own property cash flowed. It's a good investment, still own it to this day. I started putting it out there that I was going to start a management company and start building those relationships within my market that I manage. And I started getting owners coming to me and saying, hey, whatever you're doing out here is working. You're doing a great job. We don't necessarily want to use one of the bigger property management companies. We want to use somebody that's a good operator and local. So I started taking on clients to build a property management company. And that's kind of where I'm at today. So we're out in the Texas Hill Country, central Texas, kind of between Austin and San Antonio area, and we manage properties out there for other owners. They own the asset, and then we run Airbnb management, VRBO operations with the cleaners and the handyman, and kind of taking care of their property while making them money. So that's pretty much what I do, man.
Oh, that's awesome. So it's pretty much if someone has that extra vacation home, you have a all done for you solution of, okay, let's make this an Airbnb and, let's basically get it done. You don't have to worry about it. It's just plug and play, right?
Yeah. So a lot of people, they want to own for tax benefits and tax reasons. They want to own short-term rentals. They want to own the real estate, but they don't want to deal with the headaches of actually running that business because it is a business. You have to treat it like a business. So essentially you're running a mini hotel out of the house. So you have to have systems and processes in place and things like that, where like, if you were just like, hey, I'm going to go buy this vacation home and list it on Airbnb. Like, yeah, you might be able to do that, but you're probably going to get crushed and you're going to leave a whole bunch of money on the table because you don't really know what you're doing. So it's a lot. People think in their head it's a lot easier than it is, but it's not that it's difficult. It's a skill set that you have to learn and you have to perfect and become really good at it if you really want to do it the right way. So that's why a lot of people, they just have high income W-2 jobs. They're like, I'll pay a property manager 25%. And I just get to use my vacation rental a couple weeks out of the year with my family, and I'm hands off and I don't have to do anything. Or you can deal with all the bullshit that I deal with and you can just keep doing it. You know what I mean? So
No, that's awesome. On that, people are looking for that done for you solution, right? So that is awesome that you filled that niche of doing that for people. What was that aha moment? Because I mean, you went from having a party bus rental company, right? First off, I guess before my next question, how did you get into that business? Were you just partying it up and taking those party buses? And you're like, oh man, I could do this for a living.
Pretty much. My buddy had one I graduated from Texas Tech, and my buddy had one there, and he was very successful with it. So I kind of copied his blueprint. And as soon as I graduated from college, I moved to another small college town. And when I was there, I was like, okay, what are the opportunities to do something additional outside of my W-2 job? And it was kind of low hanging fruit. It was more of a learning experience than anything. We were very popular. We were booked every single weekend, but there's so much that I learned from doing that and doing it the wrong way, and just figuring out as I go, like, okay, if I would go back in time, this is what I would do. I would have raised my prices. I would have done this. I would have marketed this differently. So honestly, I think it's like all the education I got in college didn't really translate into the business world. Like, I think you can only take so many courses and read so many books until the value really comes from doing the business. Like, you learn business by doing business, right? So I think that was the biggest takeaway from that situation.
No, that's definitely true. There's so many things that you can learn in theory, right? And from a book, but once you start applying it, it's like, okay, it doesn't either work that way necessarily, or there's 10 other routes that can actually go, but you only learned one, right? So a lot of things in life, people underestimate the need for just taking action and figuring it out as you go, because you're not going to, if you worry about every little situation, try to figure out every solution before you even need it, like, you're never going to get started. Sometimes it just takes getting started, right? So you said you were working at W-2. What was the W-2? And I mean, was it similar to what you're doing now, or?
No, nothing. I did corporate sales for a big company. And, honestly, what happened was in January of this year, I was building my business on the side and still working. And then in January of this year, I think it was January, maybe February, but they reached out to me and they basically said, we've eliminated your position. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not worried about it because I also have my business on the side. And I kind of was at a point where I was like, this is probably coming to an end for me eventually, so I could go full time. And it wasn't necessarily that I did anything from a performance perspective. It was just something happened within the company where they had to cut costs. What's the easiest way to cut costs is kind of wipe a few employees out. So, anyways, they eliminated my position, but then they said, you can stay with the company, but you have to move from Houston to New Orleans. And I was just like, yeah, no. So it's cool. I mean, somebody else might do that. They can have it. So anyways, I took the severance package and they ended up coming back and they said, hey, change of plans. We actually can keep you. And at that point, I was already like, nah, dude, I'm out. Like, this is my goal. I cut the golden handcuffs. Like, I'm out. And they basically said that I could come back to work and stay in my role. Everything stays the same. I just said, hey, I kind of like already switched my mind to be like, peace out. They're like, I'm not going to take it. So anyways, we moved to Central Texas. And from there, just been going all in on my business and haven't looked back. I mean, the original milestone for my business was just make enough money to pay the bills. And once that box was checked, it's like, I'm not going back, dude. Like, I could go all in on this, man. I build something for myself, not for somebody else. And maybe some people don't like that attitude, but it is what it is. That's the way it is for me.
No, that's awesome. And you said that we moved. Sorry, are you married?
Yes, me and my wife. We moved to the New Braunfels area, which is kind of really close to our market. So from Houston to New Braunfels.
Okay. So when she met you, was it when you had the party bus, going on, or was it before that? Or I mean, after that?
I was definitely with her at the time. I just don't remember. Yeah, I think actually, you know what? I started it when we first started dating. So like right in that time where we met, and then I started it. But I didn't meet her running the bus or anything. A lot of times I really didn't do. I just had a driver. I paid him, and then usually I had like some college kid work the door to collect payments. So like sometimes I would be on there, but a lot of times I would be on there. But it sucked, dude. It was just such a high liability business. And then I'm like, okay, mommy and daddy at all these college campuses have deep pockets, and I don't have deep pockets. So if something happens here, like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
too high of a liability, and nothing bad. I mean, we ran and executed a good business. It's just something I was like, dude, I don't know if I want to be the party bus guy full time. Like, I don't want to. I could do it though. Like, I could go to every college town, get 3 or 4 buses, figure out how to make it profitable. But it's just, I don't know. It's just an industry that's like, yeah, it's kind of a grimy industry in itself. I don't know.
No, the reason I asked was because like entrepreneurship is difficult, right? And obviously you were doing it on the side until you made that switch. And sometimes our situations are very similar, and sometimes you make that switch because the company you were working for essentially gives you that out, or tells you that you're going out. But having a wife, because I have a wife and a 2-year-old as well, and the entrepreneur life is not the easiest. So, how has that dynamic been, throughout this whole stage from the party bus to, now with the news business and the new business venture? How is that support system at home?
Amazing. So my wife is so awesome. She's wonderful. And I think that you said it very well. It's like the way we're wired, I think is a little bit different, a little bit obsessive. It's kind of like we have to learn how to flip the switch to turn ourselves off. And that's really challenging for me. Like that's always been something like issues maybe sleeping because I'm just keep thinking about business and stuff like that. But I think to allude to what you're saying, and I saw like a TikTok on this or whatever, kind of cheesy, but somebody saying like the single-handedly biggest decision that you'll ever make in your life is who you choose to spend the rest of it with. And I think that is the most true thing. And I think I couldn't have made any better decision because, dude, she's like she's a propeller on the boat. Like she makes the boat go faster, and she understands and has learned kind of how my mind works. And I don't know, man, very blessed.
No, that's awesome. I know it was like in my situation, like my wife is our social, half of us, meaning that like she's the one that's, if we're gonna go hang out with friends, do all that kind of stuff, she's the one that schedules it. Like otherwise, I'll just keep going. But I've had to learn over the years that you do have to take time, spend time with the wife, but spend time with like the kids and make sure you're giving them your full attention, because as an entrepreneur, you could be wired to just, again, go, but you got to make sure you do, remember we're building it for them, and we can't lose that connection with them throughout the process of the build. So that's awesome that you do have an amazing support system, because I do agree. One of the biggest decisions is who you put in your corner, essentially, on this journey. If you have someone that's, always nagging you and complaining that you work too much and doesn't really get all the struggles that you're going through, then it's only going to put that much more stress on you and strain on the relationship. And it's not going to end up allowing you to grow and you guys to grow together. Right.
Yeah. So I think one thing that's really important too, that can kind of supercharge that, is like when you audit your time, like who are you giving your time to? So like if you're focusing on your business, then any other extra time needs to be allocated to the people that matter the most. Like, for example, your wife and your kid and stuff like that. So it's like, you just have to be able to tell people no. Like that's
Yep.
something I've learned over the last 2 years. It's like, oh, we got to go to that event, or we got to go to so-and-so's baby, whatever. And it's just kind of like, I just have to be a point where like, no, like I'm not going, I'm not doing any of that. And it makes me sound not very nice, but it's like, I feel like the power of learning how to say no to things is crucial. And once you start telling people no, they understand that, they maybe start to have a little more respect for you and respect for your time, and understand that my time is not free. Just because it's open on my calendar doesn't mean that you get to fill that slot. And I think as an entrepreneur, we spend all the time focusing on, for us specifically, our business, personal development, all that stuff. And it takes a lot out of you. And you just don't have that time to allocate to everyone else. Any of that extra time needs to be spent with my wife and that nature.
No, definitely. And it's not even just time, it's energy, right? Because I mean, communicating, even doing like this podcast, like there's energy that gets, put forth to it. And so you don't want to have, at the end of the day, when you're spending time with your wife and stuff, that, you're already drained. Yes, you have time, and yes, you're there, but you're just, kind of glued to the couch, or you don't want to do anything because you've already spent all your energy. You've already talked to so many people in the day that you don't even want to talk. So it's one of those things where telling your friends and telling people no, you don't want to go, if you're not comfortable being so direct. I mean, I have no problem with it now these days, but if you're in the beginning, I remember I would just tell people like, oh yeah, maybe. And if I said maybe, I wasn't going. Like I already knew.
Or come up with like a lame excuse to get out of it. And that's another thing. It's like, don't do that. Just say no, because then you're just you're like faking it like a lie a little bit, but you're also
Yep.
like, well, it checks the box because I'm getting out of the situation. It's just like, hey, no, I'm not. I won't be able to make it. That's it.
Yep. Yep, exactly. I mean, in the beginning, I remember like when we were younger, me and my wife we told each other we'd use each other as the scapegoat, and we were both fine with it. Like my friends are like, oh yeah, my wife has plans, like we can't, and then she would tell her friends the same thing because we both just didn't want to go to do whatever. And it's so much easier now that you're just like, nah, I just don't want to, And people are like, oh okay. So when you do end up going to something, the time that you spend with those people, you're going to cherish more, but they're going to cherish and appreciate that you're actually spending time with them too. So it's one of those things where it does work out even better in the long run once you get more comfortable saying no. With your business and with your podcast and all those kind of things, I know you have a co-host. I'm assuming because the title is called Co-Host Bros. It'd be weird if it was just you, right? So how does that, how does your day structure with, time for the business, time for the podcast?
I think honestly, it's something that's something I need to improve on personally. I need to be better with my time. I think I just go, but I mean, I still get all my disciplines done for the day, but I think it's like, I don't necessarily wake up at the most consistent time. I don't finish the job at a consistent time. A lot of times I'll work Saturday and Sunday because I didn't get enough done because I don't time management. So to answer your question, it's not really something I want to, say that that's something I'm good at. It's something I definitely want to continue to work on. So just continuously auditing my time and where it's going and figuring out and this is all stuff that I'm working on now, is like figuring out what is sucking up the most of my time and energy, but not also correlating to making me any money. So it's like getting rid of those tasks, delegating, finding somebody else to do it so I can focus on things that actually really make a difference and have an impact and actually make money. So
Right.
that's something I'm always trying to do better at.
I mean, that's something that we're all trying to, do better and constantly work at, because it is something that it always needs to be improved in your life, your day, your businesses all change, day to day. And so does your, reflection of your time, your calendar, and all those kind of things. So, I mean, that is awesome. With saying that, I mean, your business and your podcast are very similar, right? But with your business, like, what is your plan on like your growth? I know you continue looking for new clients and all that kind of stuff, but how big have you guys grown since you guys have launched, and how big are you guys trying to go with it?
Sure. I think we've only been in business. I've been managing my own property for 4 years, but we've only been managing for other people for a little over a year. And I think we're at nine or 10 other properties that we manage. So, definitely want to get a lot bigger. Honestly, like I said, the first milestone was just to pay my bills. So now that we've reached that, focusing on what are my long-term goals, is also something I'm looking at getting dialed in now. And I think long term, the way I envision it is I want to be a very big player in the game. And what does that mean? I think what I'd like to do is continue to grow my business at scale and then look at something, leveraging some sort of partnership with someone else to where we could offset each other's skill sets, where there's something like I'm really good at here. And I don't want to do everything in the business, but they also have a nice size property management company where I could come in and work on the things that I'm good at. And maybe as a visionary, I do more visionary tasks, and I'm looking to partner with somebody that's more of an integrator that can put the systems and processes in the back end, because I'm, doing all that now. I have my assistant help me with all that stuff. But yeah, I think that's the long-term goal. And what I really need to do is get dialed in on what does that look like from a 5-year perspective, a 10-year perspective, a 20-year perspective, instead of like, 1 month, 1 year, 1 quarter at a time, more long-term.
No, definitely. That's awesome. So with your business growth and I mean, your journey thus far, how has your own personal development been a role in your growth? Do you work on, yourself in terms of fitness? Do you read? I mean, we both met through, the RBO. So I know you listen to podcasts and you have a podcast. So, what does your personal development journey look like?
I think honestly, it's my personal development journey has really over the last 2 to 3 years has changed my life, because I think I was doing the wrong things, and I was drinking too much, running with the wrong crowd, hanging with people from the old days that weren't aligned with what I was trying to do and where I was trying to go. So I think it all kind of started with listening to the Real Business Owners podcast, and a number of other ones like Andy Frisella and some of those guys. Started by doing 75 hard. I think that changed my life, man, because I started doing those daily habits, and they kind of just translate into like I still do them every day. Like every now and then, we'll skip a day or I'll miss a workout, but for the most part, I do just 75 hard every day. And I don't do the picture. I just don't do the picture, but, so I can't really say that I do it because I'm not actually completing everything, but like 2 workouts a day, 10 pages a day, gallon of water a day, religiously. And I think that's really been the catalyst of like how I've been able to move the needle, much faster and been able to grow my business because I'm not distracted by, other people and bad habits. And I think, yeah, all that stuff is critical.
So when I got to ask you, because I mean, I had to modify the 75 hard also when I was doing it. When do you do your reading? Is it in the morning, the afternoon, the evenings?
Yeah, I had made a Instagram post about this the other day, and it's like my absolute least favorite thing is the reading. I do the reading now. Either I go to either wake up in the morning, and that's what I'm saying. My time's not right, but I either read first thing in the morning, go to the gym, and then read, or honestly, it's the thing that just gets filled into the day. It just gets done, and I might do it at 9 o'clock and really be pissed off about it, but I'll still do it. And I think since it's my least favorite task, what I'm going to like start doing is like do it when I first wake up in the morning.
I was gonna,
But
I was gonna say that's
yeah,
where I was struggling because like I would build it into the day. I mean, I don't do 75 hard or anything like that, but I mean, I pretty much hit everything on the list for the most part. Obviously, not the picture or anything either, but I was trying to fit the reading in, and 9 times out of 10, I would forget the reading until at night, and then I'd be sitting around at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, sitting on the couch trying to read and just dozing off. I would wake up with my head in the book. I'm like, damn it, come on, you're on page 9. Like, let's go, just finish it. I'm like pacing around just to read the words on the page. Like, it was just miserable. So, I mean, switching into the mornings, for me personally, like reading in the morning, it almost like kickstarts my day off, but also like it's like warming up for the gym, right? It's like it gets your brain going. It starts firing off the engines. Like I'm a visionary as well, so like now my brain starts thinking about the words I'm reading. I'm like, damn, if I apply that to my business here, or well, with that I can actually do this. All of a sudden my brain starts firing off. So when I come into my first task of the business, I'm already going at like full speed. So I mean that would be one recommendation is try to get it into the morning routine, and you'll definitely notice some changes. How has fitness played a role in your workouts? I mean, or in your life? I mean, I know you said you do 2 days right now, but have you always worked out? Did you work out in college? Like, how has that been?
I think I've always worked out. I just haven't really taken it that seriously. It was just something I kind of did. And I don't think like, specifically working out is like, I don't want to look a certain way or anything like that. Maybe there's some body fat percentage goals that I want to achieve, but I think more of like working out is um, just more from the benefits that come from working out, longevity, health, living a long time, looking good is also a great, part of it, but it's not really like the end goal. And it's really like also I utilize working out, like you said, in the morning to start my day, just to get my mind right. Like you're saying, reading, that'd be the hardest part of the day. So do it first. So I go straight to the gym first, get it out of the way. So everything after that's kind of easier. So I think for the most part, working out is essentially like just what I need to maintain a healthy mindset versus like I want to be a bodybuilder. I want to be able to run this mile. It's like whenever I work out in the morning, then towards the end of the day, I usually go on like a 4 or 5 mile run, and usually I'd go every day. But it's more of like 5 o'clock winding down. Like I need to get out of the house. I've been looking at this computer too long. I need to clear my head, and then I go run 5 miles, listen to something like podcasts, and just kind of gain clarity, and I can come home and just be like, okay, I'm all refreshed now, and I don't know, just so helpful from that side of things.
No, definitely. I mean, that's awesome. I mean, for my business, I mean, one of those things, working out was always kind of a requirement, because as my first business was being a personal trainer, and that evolved into the gym and launching the franchise and everything like that. But you got to talk the talk and walk the walk. I can't be telling people to work out if I don't work out.
Yeah,
So
especially if you own a gym, like it's table stakes. Like you have to be in shape to own a gym. I think it's funny because Andy Frisella talks about that all the time when he's like, now he's in good shape, and he was talking about how he's like 300 pounds and he's like selling supplements, and he's like, yeah, I wasn't getting any results. So yeah, I feel like especially for your industry, but I don't know. It just says a lot when you're also in business, like when you're in shape, because when people look at you, they're like, okay, well, at least I like to think people have my shit together, right?
no, yeah. I mean, but there's so many other aspects like you kind of mentioned, like quickly, is like not only the mental clarity you'll get from working out, but it does build other things. Like it builds on being consistent, right? So you're consistent there, you're consistent with work, but it also builds in learning that some things take delayed gratification. Like you might not have been able to run 5 miles the first time you went out for it, but you built up to it and now it gets easier. Just like any task in your business or launching a business. But the other things like your dedication, and basically the rewards that you get from it. One thing I will say though is that there is a psychological aspect that people don't realize when you work out, and not just for yourself, but when you go to do business with other people and you are one of two or one of a few people that person's interviewing to either partner with or to use, there's always something in the back of our minds that tend to lead towards people that look good, right? It sounds very, surface level or, but honestly, it's true. That's why a lot of women are better at sales than men. If let's say they have the both sales trainings and tactics and all that kind of stuff, usually, women just, and numbers don't lie, women just sell a little bit better. One, they know how to communicate for the most part a lot better than guys do. But two, it just has to do with, looks. So when you're working out, realize that there's another aspect to it. While you might not want to be a bodybuilder or anything, if you just look healthy, you look, presentable, you're more willing to do, or people are more willing to do business with you because they want to hang out with you. You're inspiring them and so forth. So there is that aspect that, may come into play. I'm not sure if you've thought about that over the years, but have you ever, thought about that, or is that ever came across your plate?
Yes, I think you're exactly right. I don't think it's everything, but it is just that one thing that just separates you a little bit more from the competition. And it's like people want to buy from attractive people, right?
Mhm.
Like it's just a psychological thing. Like it is what it is. It gives you a leg up, and exactly like what you said, a lot of people at these high level executives in companies or whatever the case may be, they do high level sales, the sales that get paid a lot of money. I mean, if you look at those people, typically it's like none of those people have guts. It's like they're all fit, they're all in shape, they all, for the most part, look good. And then the reason that why they're there is like, I don't know if it's discrimination for the employer to actually like not hire someone because of the way they look. Probably is, but in the back of their mind when they're hiring him, they're like, okay, this guy's like elite. Like he looks good. He takes care of his body. He's gonna, if he has those disciplines at home, he's probably gonna have those disciplines in the workplace. So exactly like what you said, it says everything without having to say anything.
Yeah. I mean, and it shows, and I think it might not even be like people want to buy from good looking people as much as people say they don't want to, but also the things it shows is it shows that you have commitment. It shows that you have dedication. It shows that you care, right? Because if you don't care about yourself, then are you going to care about what I'm buying from you? Are you going to care about the services when you provide them? Like you already show these other things to people that you're, selling, or for you, the service-based business like myself, like you already show those natural habits that you have, or those skills and everything that you already have. So I think that has a huge play in it. One thing, do you know who Andy Elliott is?
Yeah.
Okay, the dude is hilarious. But I mean, going into the discrimination thing, I mean, one of his things is if you get hired and you're not working and improving to get a six pack, like you get fired. Like,
Yeah.
and I think that's hilarious, but also it shows the culture and everything he's building. It's one that if you care about yourself and how you do one thing is how you do everything, right? So if you care about yourself, you're putting in the work for yourself, like you're going to put the work in, the extra work in for, what you're doing in your profession. So I think that it does have a little play in that.
Yeah, I feel like you're spot on, and I've seen that clip too. I feel like if I ever went to like one of his trainings or one of his groups, I feel like I'd sit there, I'd be like really nervous, like, dude, I don't want this guy to call me out. But
But
then if he did, though, I wouldn't feel that bad because if he's like, hey, take your shirt off, I'd be like, hey man, I'm good, go ahead,
yeah,
like whatever.
and that's the
But
thing.
it's yeah,
And that's the thing in like entrepreneurship too, is like you have to be willing to be called out. Especially, I mean, we're in RBO and you get called out by other people holding you accountable for the things that you said you're going to do. And sometimes, especially in entrepreneurship, when you don't have a boss necessarily, you got to have that accountability system, right? So whether it's a mentor, whether it's, a colleague or someone else, in a mastermind or something, you got to have an accountability system that holds you to your word. Because at the end of the day, you don't have anyone to report to necessarily. you know?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's crucial to be in those kind of mastermind groups where you have other members that are friends, and now your friends are combined with people that are also holding you accountable. So yeah, that's why I really like the Real Business Owners group for those the monthly calls we do and all the stuff that they pour into us. And then I'm also a part of other masterminds that are kind of like specifically geared towards property management, building my business, and then I've also got the Real Business Owner where it's like I can speak with other entrepreneurs that own gyms or plumbing companies or whatever. It's so awesome to be a part of that community because it's like everybody meshes together, but everybody's doing different businesses. But at the end of the day, we're all still speaking the exact same language, but just like with a different dialect, but it's all the same. So it's like, I love that mastermind group because there's other people in other industries that maybe they don't have property management companies, but what they're dealing with translates into what I'm dealing with. So it gives me just kind of like a different perspective.
Yep.
And then I also have like the ones that are specific to my industry, so I can kind of try and stay up to date on all the things that are going on.
No, definitely. And I mean, I do like that same aspect where there's people from different industries. And this is what I tend to even like locally, like I connect with other business owners as well that aren't in the fitness industry because whether I'm facing a problem or they're facing a problem, you can get a different perspective than if you're just in an accountability system or a networking group that's industry based because people tend to have the same solution, especially if you're in the industry and you don't think outside the box or as far outside the box as you could. But when you get that outside perspective, someone's like, "You could, why is this possible? Are you allowed to do this?" And all of a sudden you're like, "I never thought of that." So that is
So
nice.
yeah, yeah, so I think even like for a specific example, let's just say you have a gym. So if you were a part of a mastermind with a bunch of gym owners, maybe they're all independent gym owners, but you're building a franchise. Like you have a franchise gym. So there might be somebody in this general mastermind business that has already a franchise who'll be able to help you 10 times more than in this specific situation than somebody would that just a bunch of independent gym owners. But you kind of need. It's great to have both, but it's just from that perspective, like you know.
No, exactly. That's why me and Eric connect so well in RBO. Like he has his franchise company, so both of us are franchisors. But his is a coffee business, a mobile coffee business, and then mine's the gyms. So, but me and him connect, pretty much weekly on, hey, what are you doing? What am I doing? And we basically feed each other different ideas because it does translate. You just got to make it adaptable to your business, and which is a huge thing to realize that when you hire a coach, or if you hire a coach, or if you join a mastermind, or if you do anything like that, realize that there's such a huge benefit that you get from it, not just from accountability, but from learning and speeding up your timeline. Essentially, hiring a coach or something can condense your timeline of success, right? So let's say someone wanted to work with you and learn how to do vacation rentals or Airbnb rentals and all that kind of stuff. Like you can condense their timeline of success, which is huge. The thing that gets people nowadays with social media is everyone's a coach, but not everyone has done what they coach. Right. So I think that's a huge thing people need to look out for is like, make sure you're talking to someone that has walked the walk and that just didn't read a book. Because if they read a book, so could you. Like, you don't need to hire them to do whatever you want to do.
Yeah, that's kind of tough, and it is kind of shady because there's a lot of people trying to do stuff like that. But I don't know. I'm a firm believer in like those kind of things expose themselves over time. So they might be able to get one or two people, but like in 5 years, people really like they'll expose themselves because at some point people be like, "Dude, that guy's a joke, man. He doesn't. I didn't get
Yep.
anything from his course, and I did all the work." And like I feel like karma will get those people that are essentially trying to push something that they're not qualified. They shouldn't be doing it.
No, definitely. So with you reading and everything like that, like what is one of your favorite books that you've read? I know reading isn't your favorite, but what is a book that has helped you along your journey, at least in the beginning?
Let me think about it real quick. I know there's like three or four books that I read every single year. So I always read these four books. And then any other time outside of that, I'll read other books. I think my favorite book that I've ever read is a mindset book. And there's a lot of people in the Real Business Owners group that also mention this book too. I've read it 4 years in a row now, once a year. It's called The Gap and the Gain. I don't know if you've read that. But yeah, it's so great because I think what we all tend to lose track of is we all have this mindset of lack and what we don't have yet. And like me going from, 1 to 10 properties in the first year is crazy. But what do I tell myself? that's not enough. Like, you need to go sign more people. You're not the biggest. You're not the baddest. You're not. And it's like, okay, but why? I need to look back at like where I actually came from. And when you do that, you have much better mindset. You have much better happiness, and you just have a better outlook on life. And I always stray away from it. So getting back into that mindset of like, living in the game. I think that's probably my favorite book of all time. I'm trying to think. Yeah, let's go with that for now. And then I'm currently reading Buy Back Your Time. I don't know if you've read that one, but it's something I've also been like not necessarily struggling with, but I think as entrepreneurs we always have issues of letting go of control and realizing that we need to put somebody in place to do things for us. And it basically just kind of teaches you how to use your money to buy back your time. And halfway through that one, it might be one of the ones I implement and read every single year as well. It's that good. So I'm about halfway through that.
Oh, that's good. Have you read Eat the Frog or Traction? They're both very similar.
Man, I've got like a list of like 20 books on my phone, like I'm sure you do, and we all do. And like every time we hear, all right, add that to my list. I think both of those are on the list, but I haven't read either one of them.
So both are very similar. So if they're on the list, I would say pick Traction. Eat the Frog is really good, but it talks about, essentially do the most difficult thing of your day first, right when you first wake up, and don't let that procrastinate till the end. But what is the one task of the day that's really going to move the needle of your business? Get that done first, and then the rest will, you can fit around your day. But doing that will allow you to basically face problems head on and not kind of put them to the sidelines, and it'll start to build momentum over time. But Traction, what I really liked about it was it talks about basically if you have a glass, right, a glass jar, that if you were to fill the glass jar with sand, meaning like you're just tedious tasks that you don't really need to do, or, let's say, file this piece of paper and, call this person just to update them, and all these little things. You fill the glass with the jar, you're not going to be able to put in the stones or the boulders, which are the actual bigger moving pieces to move the business. But now if you put the boulders in first and then you put the stones will fill the gaps that the boulders don't fill. And then you put the sand after the stones and after the boulders, that will fill up the rest of the jar. So now all three fit. So you do the biggest things first, then you break it down, you do the secondary, important tasks, and then the tedious tasks, either you delegate or you do them after everything else is done. But in doing so, it also talks about like even with team meetings and stuff like that, you have one team meeting that basically talks to your team heads and you talk about all the big things that need to be done. Then those team heads go talk to their team about the smaller stones, and then the people work on the sand, essentially. So that's a huge book, and I think that one is super crucial of figuring out what are your boulders, what is your sand, and making sure that you're scheduling your day properly.
Yeah, and I'm aware of it, but based on what your explanation was, I think there's a little bit me doing too much playing in the sand. I think that's what it is, and the boulders are also coming later. And I completely understand where I need to flip flop that and do the big things first that really move the needle. And that definitely is something I can relate to right now that I'm working on. Also improving at. So I'll add that one definitely to my list. Actually, it's on my list. I just checked.
I think the whole thing with the sand is like I'm guilty of it as well. Is like we do smaller tasks to say that we got them done, and then our day feels like we did so many things, when in reality, like there weren't really anything that really moved the business forward. But we could say we had a productive day and we give ourselves a pat on the back when really that pat wasn't a deserved one. But one thing before we do start to wrap up that I wanted to ask, I ask everyone this, right? And I will preface this like I usually do, because when I gave the question and someone basically addressed it like a tombstone. It's not a tombstone, it's a legacy wall. On this legacy wall, your podcast, everything that you built, your companies, all are hypothetically erased. What is one message that you would like to leave on your legacy wall for up and coming entrepreneurs, as well as anyone that you've learned along your journey, both in personal development or in entrepreneurship?
I would say, man, that's a tough one on the spot right there. I should have.
It has to be on the spot.
It has to be off the cuff. It has to be off the cuff.
And the reason it has to be off the cuff, because people have asked, after the podcast, people ask like, why don't you ask, give someone that question beforehand? And I was like, because then you prepare. And when you prepare for it, you don't give the most genuine answer, meaning that it's not going to be whatever comes to mind, that's going to be the thing that actually has resonated and sat with you for the long amount of time. And that's that one message that everyone does need, as simple as it may be.
I would say, I think the biggest one that comes to my mind, based off you said, just right off the cuff, is if they haven't done it, do not listen to them. So if they haven't done it, close your ears, because there's so much noise out there from people, and there's so many people that will have doubt and have negativity, and they will, he's never going to do that. He can't do that. And it stems from their own insecurities. So I think they haven't done it, don't listen to them. And these are the kind of people you need to absolutely distance yourself from. And when you distance yourself from them, what you can do is replace them with people that are the opposite of that, that are like you, that have the right mindset. I think that is a superpower, and it's a cheat code, because now when you're with these people that will take you to the next level, that do align with you, if you're spending all your time with them, you're going to become a different human being. You're going to become a different person. So when you say that, the first thing that comes to my mind is, if they haven't done it, don't listen to them.
Perfect. See, I mean, it seems simple, but it's one of those things that you may not learn it unless it happens to you, right? I mean, I've hired coaches in the past that after hiring them, I'm like, damn, I shouldn't have hired them.
So what was if you now put you on the spot, what was your favorite response to, what was the best response that you heard to that question?
I mean, honestly,
that you remember
that yours is very similar, but it's one of those things where your story alone is actually testament to it. You can transition at any time, right? You weren't born into the life that you deserve. You design the life that you deserve, right? So at any point, you had the party bus company, you didn't want to do it anymore. You didn't want that business, that lifestyle. You transitioned. You wanted to do something else. The company offered you the out. Then they offered you to come back. Again, you said, no, I transitioned. You can design the life that you want. If someone else has done it, you can do it too. They're 24 hours in the day. Elon Musk doesn't get 26 hours for his day, like 24 hours in a day. You can do whatever someone else has done and more if you're willing to put in the work.
I love it.
So, but honestly, man, where can people connect with you and learn more about what you got going on?
Sure. So you can just reach out to me on Facebook, Austin Spitzenberger. If you get my last name right, I guarantee I'll probably be the only person that comes up. So pretty easy to find there. On Instagram, Austin_Spitz, SPITZZ. The OG Austin Spitz. I had to add an extra Z because there's an OG that's been around longer than me. But anyways, we can do that. And then my podcast is called The Co-Host Bros, Spotify and all those platforms. And then stay tuned. I have another one coming out where we're only on episode 4, but we're still getting the name locked in and all the nuts and bolts. So the podcast that I have is specifically geared towards, property management. And then the new one is going to be kind of like personal development, similar to a lot of the stuff that we talked about on here today with like wealth building and stuff like that. And that's pretty much it.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out, and connecting and dropping some knowledge. I mean, one of the best things that my advice for people is that learning from other people's experiences, reading is so beneficial, podcasts are so beneficial, but at the end of the day, someone's journey, if you can extract the lesson that someone else had to face, it can shorten and condense your timeline because you have the answer and the solution that they've already found through that. So thank you so much, Austin, for taking the time out, man. And I look forward to connecting with you again in the near future.
Thanks for having me, my man.
No negative vibes, only positive thoughts. Just in the game of life, mindset calls the shots. Got my mind on the prize, I can't be distracted. I stay on my grind, no time to